Hello everyone and welcome back. Okay, in this chapter we're going to talk about a very important concept in JavaScript, and that is objects, okay? We can create objects in JavaScript. So what is an object? Well, an object really can be anything, and I'm not trying to be vague or be funny when I say that. I'm going to give you some examples here. So one I always like to use is, well, okay, an object is like a real world representation of something. It can be your favorite movie, it can be a YouTube video, it could even be a car, okay? And objects, the key thing to note here is that objects have both properties and they have methods, okay? So we've seen this before with arrays. We saw with arrays, one property they have is the length property. You can access the length of an array, and they have methods. There's different methods you can use on an array, okay, such as push, pop, reverse, etc. Now, when we talk about, let's say, a car in the real world, okay, a car will have various properties. It will have the year it was made. It will have a color. It will have seats, how many passengers it can carry, etc. But it will also have methods. So while properties are characteristics, methods are things the object can do. In this case, a car can drive, right? So it can start, it can stop, it can beep, and it can turn, okay? So cars can do things, right? So cars will have properties, the size of the car, the year it was made, the color, etc., and it can do things. It can turn, it can reverse, it can beep, it can drive, etc. So the key point is that objects, okay, basically have properties and methods, okay? Now, another way to think about this is movies. Movies will have various properties. They'll have a title of the movie, the year it was made, the cast, who's the lead actress, the lead actor, etc. What are the reviews like online, okay? So movies are also objects. So you can create an object that represents a real world movie. And how you create an object, and that's what we'll get to now, because I suppose it's hard conceptually to understand what an object is if you haven't seen one. You can create an object using what we call object literal notation. Don't be intimidated by that. Object literal notation basically means the syntax for creating an object. And really what we do is we use curly braces, and inside of it we can put all the other different data types. So an object can contain strings, such as a name. It can contain numbers, such as an age. It can contain Boolean values, so true and false. It can even contain arrays, okay? So an object is a very powerful data type in JavaScript. What I want to do is I want to create an object for Batman. So if we say let Batman be equal to, and curly braces, what we can do in here is we can put all the different properties that we can think of for Batman. And how you do that is you do it with a key value pair, okay? So you have the name, okay, so this is going to be a property, okay? And we need to give it a value, and that will be Bruce Wayne. And what you can do inside of an object is you can comma separate all of the different pieces of data, okay? So that's name, and that is the value, okay? So this is known as a key value pair, okay? Now, you can also do a number. So for example, age 38. How I decided his age was 38 was, that was roughly the age that Christian Bale was when he shot some of the Batman movies. I went back to 2012. I'm not sure if The Dark Knight came out in 2010 or 2012 or 11, but he was roughly 38 back then. Okay, then he has an address he's going to live at. So this can be Wayne Manor, comma separate. Okay, awesome. Then you can have a workplace. Okay, so workplace, you could say Wayne Enterprises. So the key point I'm trying to make here is that an object can contain different data types. So for example, maybe his relationship status, so is single, we could set that to true. So we have here, apologies, force a habit. So we have strings, now we have a Boolean, we have a number here as well, okay? So various things you could do. We could also have an email. So we'll put in another string here, and that could be Bruce at WayneEnterprises.com, and comma separate there. Okay. You could also have another Boolean. So does Batman have powers? We could say has powers. You could set that one to be false, because technically, while he's a superhero, Batman is a human. Bruce Wayne, he doesn't actually have powers. You could also create an array, okay? So you could say maybe hobbies, okay? So what are his hobbies? Well, maybe he likes drinking coffee, okay? Um, Maybe he likes visiting Venice. I don't know if that's true, but you know, he's a rich guy. Um, Going to restaurants. Can't spell restaurants, can I? Restaurants. We'll just say going to cafes. And what else? Wandering the streets at night, you know, because, you know, he's a night owl. Wandering the streets at night and solving crime. Okay. Key point here is we now have an array as well. Also, you could do another array if you wanted of friends. So maybe he hangs around with, let's say, Robin, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and of course, Superman. Okay. So basically, this here, what we've done is we've actually created an object that represents Batman. So you have name with a value of a string, you have age of type number, you have 3 strings here, so address, workplace, email, you have some Boolean values, so true and false values, and we have here 2 arrays. And what I can do is, if I log out Batman to the console, if I say console.log Batman, we should see all of these key value pairs, i.e. properties, logged out to the console. Okay? So for example, if I expand it, we see here we have address, we have age, email, friends there, has powers. Okay? Now, one thing I want you to think about, thinking ahead here for this course, is the reason this is so cool is, imagine later on you want to set up an app, whether it's a weather app or an app for movies or stock market data app. You might want to set up some code that actually sends a request to a database or an API and gets data back. And typically, you know, if you want to be able to access different properties and methods in an object, you're going to have to understand objects and how to access data. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about in the next tutorial. The key takeaway from this tutorial is, number 1, objects exist in JavaScript. So what is an object? Well, this is an object here. An object is a representation of something that exists in the real world. So it can be a movie, it can be a YouTube video, it could be a car, it can even be a person. Okay, a person will have a name, an age, a date of birth, an address, nationality, all of those kind of things. And the key point here as well is that while we've seen now in this course how you can create an array using square bracket notation, you know, for example, let cities be equal to, and then square brackets and commas separate the cities. With object literal notation, we use curly braces. So here we said let Batman be equal to, and we've assigned it the value of an object. We have our opening curly brace here and our closing curly brace there. I put a semicolon there to end basically the statement or this piece of code. And inside of the object, we have our key value pairs, okay? All the different properties, and I've comma separated. Technically, you don't need a comma there at the end because there's nothing after the friends array, but it's okay to put it if you want. And then what we did is we just logged out Batman, i.e. this object, to the console, and we saw it there. In the next tutorial, what I'll do is I'll show you how to access the properties of an object. Also as well, you don't just have to have properties in an object, you could also, for example, put in a method, okay?